the most important thing is that to remember is that this is not your fault. Your partner was the one that chose to have an affair. You didn't choose to have an affair. Therefore, this is not your fault. And so often we will see partners where they're feeling bad or guilty or talking about things that were challenging in their life around the time of having the affair or whatever. The message, either implicitly or explicitly, can be, you did this, you didn't do this, or you did do this, or this happened, and whatever. And so then you're in this situation with this terrible pain that you're experiencing, and then the added burden of actually it could be your fault. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so, at the risk of being too overt here, what I want you to hear is that you were not the one who made the choice to make the phone call,
Mm-hmm.
to ask someone out, to initiate whatever happened between them. This was their choice. This is not your fault. Period. This is where people get hooked, because the reality is, if you are in a relationship, at some point in time, you will make bad choices. Okay, and not every affair happens off a relationship that was bad. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but even in good relationship, you're gonna have times where you'll miss each other, or there'll be a disconnect, or whatever. Or you might have been in a genuinely crappy relationship prior to the affair happening. So all of those are possibilities, but we still come back. Unless you held a gun to your partner's head or your children's head and said, "I'm going to shoot him, you, or them if you don't do this thing," still not your choice. And that doesn't mean you can't take responsibility for things that you might have done that might have been difficult, but be very clear, this is still not your fault, even if you did make bad choices.
Yeah. And so even though it's not your fault, there's still all this pain, right?
Yeah.
The anguish, the despair, the sadness. But all those emotions tell you it's your fault.
That might happen where a partner chooses to go towards an affair, and there can be that what if, but what if we did this, and what if, and all the missed opportunities, or I should have seen that, or maybe if I'd seen that. And again, that implicit underlying message is it's still your fault. You should have been more vigilant, you should have been less trusting, you should have been more challenging, you should have been more of this or that or whatever. A, it's not your fault because you didn't make the choice. B, it's still not your fault even if you did make objectively bad choices. But it's really understanding that when you think and you experience this tremendous pain that you're experiencing, however you experience that, you didn't deserve that. What I would be hoping, if you have a partner with any self-awareness, is that even they, in their heart of hearts, can look at you and say, no matter what, you did not deserve this. Yeah. And so you might ask, why didn't you think that, about what this would do to me? And the truth is, and this is a painful truth, is that for the vast majority of cases, your partner was not thinking about you. Yeah. And it is not your fault that you're in so much pain. The pain is coming because you care about the relationship, because you care about fidelity, because you care about this person, because of your values. Okay, that doesn't make it your fault, and you don't deserve this. You didn't deserve this pain.
A story that I heard once that I think has helped me understand this problem is, in our minds, it's difficult to know the difference between fault and responsibility. Right. I have a coffee mug here, and I imagine people would be passing a coffee mug, and you go to pass it to someone and it slips out of their hand and it falls, right? It's not your fault that they dropped it. Although it lands on you and it burns you, there's all the pain involved in it. It's not your fault that they dropped it, but it is your responsibility to clean it up, to actually make the situation as good for yourself in that moment as you can.
Our next topic is of saying, how do we take care of you? It's that process of recognizing it's not your fault. Your partner made a choice, and it's not your fault. If you did make bad choices, there will be some responsibility going forward to see what we can do about the bad choices. That's a really powerful analogy for me. That was just something that was really shitty that's happened. One of the processes when you're trying to heal and recover, often for the partner who's betrayed, there's a sense of horror of this realization, this thing that might have seemed fun or innocent, or no one's going to get hurt, or no one's going to get and they're seeing this huge devastation that you're experiencing, and that can feel really overwhelming. And so then they they may need to do some anchoring as well, both in terms of taking responsibility. I didn't mean to spill the coffee all over you, but also take responsibility for the choices that they made.
Yeah. So I think at this point, just to summarize this conversation, is that these things have happened. The next step is really to take care of yourself so that way you can function into the next coming days and weeks. And also to recognize that your partner, because of the decisions they made, they probably don't have the bandwidth to actually be there to be supportive in any type of way.
That can vary a lot between you, but yes, that's certainly a common experience, and it's pretty common when people get hooked into their guilt and shame that they won't be available. But yeah, that piece for you of coming back to, no matter what, you didn't deserve this pain, no matter what, not your choice, no matter what you have done in your relationship, it's not your fault.